Hello. So I briefly talked about the spiritual advantages of forgiveness. And I just wanted to amplify that a little bit because there is a lot of research in consciousness and our ideas of identity, especially social identity, which rely heavily on empathy and on us being empathetic to others. And forgiveness is a crucial part of that explanation of self. Because what happens is whenever we are in a tense exchange or in a conflictual situation, our body, we feel threatened, right? And our body has a certain visceral response to it. We get into this fight or flight state, right? Which is connected to our primal brain, right? We say things or do things that we regret. But the thing is that anxiety doesn't come down by itself. We have to go out in the world and do something good or immediately share that experience with someone else. And in the long term, if the conflict or confrontation involved we doing or saying something wrong to someone else, that stays unresolved in our consciousness or in our unconscious. And that has psychosomatic effects on our body. That means that we might be walking around physically healthy, but emotionally we have this burden at the back of our mind. I mean, remember, think of it. Every time you have had a confrontation with someone, and if you knew that maybe you were wrong, ask yourself, does that memory stay with you? Do you look back at it and feel bad about it, right? Feel guilty about it? The thing is, you'll keep carrying that guilt, that feeling bad about it, unless it is resolved, right? And the best way to resolve it is through forgiveness, asking for forgiveness, right? That's why, I mean, and we do it naturally. We accidentally run into someone and we say, I'm sorry, right? What that does is it immediately tells us, oh, I ran into this person and I immediately apologize. That's why we apologize, to feel better about a mistake that we had made. Now, there has to be some caution here, right? We can't just become apologetic beings because that's another kind of problem, right? We can't totally efface ourselves. Sometimes, we have to take a stand when someone is being absolutely unjust and wrong. But the way to do it is to stay in touch with your own humanity, right? And remind them that no matter how they speak to you or how they treat you, you will stay calm and you will maintain your dignity, right? Sometimes that stops the people in their tracks, right? But the idea is that if it happens and if you keep your calm and keep your composure and you walk away, the only thing that would be bothering you is what that person did or said, and not necessarily how you responded. So you won't carry any personal guilt, but you'll carry this burden of someone else wronging you, right? And that's where, if it's something really serious, you have legal recourse to it, right? But if it is something just social that can't be resolved in a court of law and this person is not going to see it that way and never going to apologize, then it becomes important to sit down and think about the whole thing and resolve it by saying, I will let it go. I will forgive this person even though they will never know it, so that I can move on. So these are some additional thoughts about what confrontations and the anxiety and guilt from them does to us. And in terrible situations, it makes us turn on ourselves. We start hurting ourselves, right? So the best way of coping with it is, of course, to forgive and then to strengthen our core identity, right? Core identity in a way where we have the capacity to forgive and move on. If you linger, or if we linger on these things, chances are something very small could fester and take over our entire life, right? That's why forgiveness is important, because it allows us to tuck this thing away, resolve it, at least in our own mind and soul, and then move on and do the important work of living a meaningful life. So these are some additional thoughts. I hope these are useful to you. As always, I'm open to your questions and your suggestions, and I would love to hear them and respond them, maybe through another conversation like this. Thank you, and peace and love.